Hello, puzzlers. I thought today we could start with a quick puzzle. And it is this. What do these 4 objects have in common? A wooden spoon, a trophy of a horse's rear end, a red lantern, and a gold-colored statuette of a booby, the tropical seabird. It's a little tough, a little challenging, but see if you can focus on a wooden spoon.
Yeah, okay.
A trophy of a horse's rear end, a red lantern, and this is the one to focus on, a gold-colored statuette of a booby, the tropical seabird.
Oh, the seabird.
Not the seabird part, the booby part. The answer and more puzzling goodness after the break. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Hello Puzzlers podcast, the amber grease in your high-end perfume. I'm here, of course, with Chief Puzzle Officer Greg Pliska. And Greg, before the break, I asked, what do these 4 objects have in common? It's a little tricky. A wooden spoon, a trophy of a horse's rear end, a red lantern, and a gold-colored statuette of a booby, the tropical seabird.
They're all things just visible outside your camera range right now.
How did you know?
I've been in your closet before. I know what's in there.
Bring them on in.
You got the booby prize on one side. You've got the red lantern on the other. What?
Well, you just said it. You just said those 2 words.
Prizes? Booby prize?
They are all booby prizes. They are all prizes for last place. A wooden spoon is famously given, or not so famously.
Famously? Yeah, sure.
In soccer and rugby. Major League Soccer has the last place wooden spoon.
This is amazing. This is sports trivia I didn't know and you knew.
There you go. Educational.
It's the first time it's happened here on the podcast. Okay.
The rear end trophy of a horse is a common gag. Now, the red lantern is interesting. It's from the Tour de France, and it's to the last place cyclist, the Lanterne Rouge. And it is actually considered prestigious because it represents grit and perseverance. So if you're second to last...
Does she have to carry it on her bicycle when she's got to...
I think you get it at the end.
Last?
You don't
get it when you... It's not like whoever's in last, they run up and toss the lantern on their bike to slow them down.
But that would be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I love it.
And of course, there's the booby, because the booby prize. So some people give booby trophies. So there you go. A little sports trivia.
I see what you've done here.
Well,
I see what's going on now.
Well, yes, you see. Well, here, I'll explain to those who don't know, because they're not sitting in our studio.
Those who are last shall be first.
There you go.
That's the segue.
That's a good segue. My segue is, I think the word last is both appropriate and inappropriate for our guest today. It's appropriate because his name is Natan Last. His last name is Last, but it's inappropriate because he does not deserve a horse's rear end trophy. He deserves a #1 literary trophy because he's written a wonderful book called Across the Universe, The Past, Present, and Future of the Crossword Puzzle. Welcome, Natan Last.
It's great to be here and not be bringing up the rear end. Thanks for having me.
Yes, very good. And the time I spent but prior to this episode, I was thinking AJ's going to start with a puzzle about things that have only A's in them. I was ready for clues about banana.
Oh,
but no.
That's good. No,
he brings out the booby prizes.
There you go.
Yeah, it makes my name very not susceptible to anagrams when I'm trying my best. You got to use my middle name, which is the crossword mushroom Morel.
Oh,
Ooh.
Interesting. I mean, you've got a lot going on in your last name, in your name. Natan, as you point out in your acknowledgments, is a palindrome. And then you've got Last. I have to ask right up front, has that caused any Abbott and Costello who's on first situations where they say, what is your last name? Last. No, what is your last name? Anything like that?
Oh, tons of times. Once in high school, it's the only time I've jumped the turnstile because friends of mine on the baseball team were going to go to a friend's house to play video games. My student Metro card wasn't working. A cop saw that I'd done this, stopped the train, searched every car until he found me, took me off the train, told the train to keep going, and I'm shaking in my sneakers, and he asked for my student ID, looks at it and says, "Your last name's Last?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Go on then, don't do it again."
Oh, so it helped. It helped you. All right.
Criming while having a silly last name really pays.
And that started your career in criminal behavior. That's terrific.
That's right. Yeah, I've been jumping turnstiles ever since.
With a name tag on. You don't even bother with the ID. Just put Last.
Right. They see me, they let me do it.
Yeah,
well, speaking of being young, you were the youngest person at the time to have a New York Times crossword puzzle at 16.
Yeah, I was really lucky to, when I was in high school, submit a Sunday that, like any high school nerd, was themed around trigonometry. And it was, at the time, I was the youngest Sunday constructor to have a puzzle in the magazine, and my record lasted a stentorian 8 months.
Whoa.
Not bad.
Who beat your record? Who came in?
Caleb Madison.
Oh, of course.
And you're also a former intern with Will Shortz, the crossword editor then and still now. So you deal with all of that plus much, much more in your book, which we are going to discuss in the next segment. But since this is the Hello Puzzlers podcast, we thought we would start with a puzzle, a crossword-themed puzzle. And Greg Pliska, our chief puzzle officer, has written just that. So, Greg, I'll let you take over.
I've done that. And AJ, it's not really a puzzle. It's more of a game.
Good point.
And you can both play. It can be cooperative. It doesn't have to be competitive. You know,
we can work together.
Yeah, but it's we call it Crossword Family Feud, which probably breaks some trademark law that we're not crossword kinship battle, whatever you want to call it. Which I actually did years ago at the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament as one of the nighttime events. And basically what I've done is search through X-word info, right? All the Times crossword clues I'm using just the last 30 something years, the Will Shortz era. And I'll give you a word and you guys are going to try to guess what are the most common clues for that word. For example, if I took the word ROM, which I think would be pronounced ROM in whatever meaning you used. It's appeared about 79 times since Will took over the crossword puzzle in 1993. So what would you guess are the most common clues that we, have seen? For
ROM. I can only think of one. Maybe that's my lack of imagination. CD blank.
CD blank. Natan, you were nodding, right?
What else?
That has appeared 40 times. Almost half of them have been some form of
there's a lot
CD
of others.
blank or CD follower. Right. So I've sort of compiled similar types of clues in there.
Well, I need to know, or Natan, do you know any of the others?
I can't think of anything that isn't CD related.
There's a movie-related one that's
Blank Com.
Blank
or something.
Com, yes.
Very good. Okay,
about 6 of those.
Rom-com, romantic
and then
comedy.
there's another dozen or so that are data storage site or computer acronyms, sort of more general, with the same meaning as CD-ROM. And then there's a geographic one that's appeared 4 times.
Oh, Romania, the abbreviation for
Oh, he's good. He wrote the book.
Neighbor of Bulg, B-U-L-G, right?
Very good.
I like when you abbreviate things that never get abbreviated. It's like Remus's brother for short.
Yeah,
Romulus
which might have been,
Rom.
he went by that nickname.
Yeah.
I actually worked on Carly Simon wrote an opera called Romulus Hunt about a fictional kid, not related to Romulus and Remus, but his nickname in the opera was Rom. So
and you worked on that opera?
I worked on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an interesting
time ago.
little...
Well, the name Simon will definitely come back, I think, in the next segment, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's surely notable is that before Will took over, up to 1993, almost every clue for this word was gypsy.
Oh.
Isn't that like the pejorative, world of the word gypsy, which has the pejorative connotations, and Romney, right? The group of people that make up that group is not the pejorative description for them, or Roma. When you look at the clues, and Natan, you know this, I'm sure, like before 1993, you see the exact same clue. Not even the same meaning, but the same clue. Oh yeah, Ram is going to be gypsy. And it just used that way. And then immediately Will takes over and it starts to branch out in interesting
Or
ways.
Oreo is the famous example, right? Until 1993, Oreo, which has been in the puzzle something like 200 times, is clued as mountain in combined form in Greek, right? It's some prefix meaning.
What?
There's a
Right,
bird
yes.
called like the Oreotrix, which hops around on mountain crags, I think. Right. But in 1993, we can go black and white cookie and,
That
have it, forevermore.
Well, let me just say that while we're on Oreo, because I was going to bring it up, you write about in your book the Oreo cluing project, because Oreo appears so often in the New York Times crossword because it's such a great vowel-heavy word, but we're running out of original ways to clue it. So someone started a project, and I can't remember. What were some of the more creative ways to clue the word Oreo?
Yeah, there's pop culture ones. So apparently Ross and Rachel split an Oreo in the pilot of Friends.
Okay, good.
In a sweet foreshadow. They're in the movie Rounders, which is about poker. One of the tells is when a player eats an Oreo, but then they get very they get playful and they get editorial, as some of these modern clue writers tend to. So one of my favorites is apt rhyme for gory yo, because it's real messy when I eat them.
It's very personal. It's like a memoir.
Exactly. Yeah. These sort of bloggy puzzles get diaristic.
Interesting. All right, great.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so now we can play. That was just a warm up. So here's your first one. The word is M-O-S.
M-O-S.
I'm not going to pronounce it because there are several ways you can approach it. M-O-S.
All right. Well, Natan, you want to go first, and then I'll weigh in with one of my theories?
I think, I think I'm between two. I'm going to go with calendar divisions, abbreviation.
Oh, okay.
Calendar pages, calendar units, calendar divisions. That appears 11 times. It appeared that I think there are 61 instances of this, so it's not hugely common, but 11 of them. That's the number 2. That's the number 2 clue.
Number 2. Okay. Well, Natan's book deals a lot with culture and which cultures are highlighted, and I believe that Mos Def, the entertainer, spells his name M-O-S, but maybe I'm making that up. So is that right?
You're right.
Mos Def?
You're right. Blank Def is 10 times. 10 times. That's number 3.
Number 3. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, there's one we're missing. Whoa.
There's a different way to interpret that string of letters.
I have a theory, Natan, but I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, go for it.
Well, is it like modus operandi, plural?
Yep, well, yes, but that would be too direct a way to clue that. That is how. Yes, that is the meaning.
Ways of doing things or something like that.
Yep, well, personal styles or personal ways. There's 7 examples of that.
Is it just the most def, but the slangy form of it? So blank def in parentheses, certainly.
Oh,
no, that doesn't.
Definitely.
I don't even know if that. It always is most def. No, you're on the right track with MOs being there's just a different way to clue that. That's more specific than just personal styles. MOs are specifically whose patterns.
Like criminals?
Yeah.
Oh.
Criminal patterns, crooks patterns, 14 times comes up, and that's
really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think it had that negative a connotation, but what do I know? Apparently nothing. All right, that's good.
I got one more 3-letter one that's interesting. MIA.
All right.
200 times. 200 times.
I'm trying to think which would be the most common. I'll go with, soccer star Ham, which I feel like it's going to get some juice from the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, big juice early on in the period. 31, number 2 answer. Some Ham reference. Soccer star Ham or Ham of soccer.
Well, I can't decide whether the number 1 is going to be another Mia, for instance, Pharaoh. But then there's also MIA, missing in action, and which you could clue lost soldier, word for lost soul.
So
or something.
what you're trying to do is make like 3 guesses and hope that one of them is
Yeah.
first. Is that how you're doing this?
Yep, I want to win no matter what. I am ruthless.
Which one do you want to go for?
All right,
there,
I'll go with
KK?
the lost soldier.
Lost Soldier. So it is used quite a bit. There's unaccounted for or nowhere to be found, which is a kind of general, that's the number 4 answer, 20 of those. And battle stat or war stat, there were 17 of those.
See, I would combine those if I were scoring. It's like just the meaning.
But one is a more general way. You make that 37 and you would be winning.
I would win.
That's how you go.
That's the way I work. That's the way
Would you combine them, AJ? Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. If I said them, then I combine them. All right.
So,
well, Natan, what
mentioned? Well, AJ, you mentioned another one.
I
that's
did. I
fairly
dropped
common.
another.
The actress Pharaoh,
but she's not
or
number
blank
one.
Pharaoh. There's 21 of that. Here's what's interesting. The sixth most common is Mrs. Sinatra or Frank's ex.
Interesting, but
8 of
not
those.
Mrs. Allen. Woody's
That Woody X appears 3 times. And again, pre-will, there's more that describe Mia Farrow in relation to some man.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Right.
good for Will.
So
But that's not the number one. We're
That's
still
not the
missing
number
the number one. Oh, I don't know, Natan.
it's a
I'm
It's a
blanking.
fill in the blank.
It could be. I was wondering if it was the Latin possessive, or like Spanish possessive.
Italian possessive appears 7 times.
blank.
7.
Cara-
Wow.
Cara blank appears 5 times. So that's
nice.
O patria blank also appears 5 times. So very good.
But we're still missing the number one? I can't
Yeah.
believe it. Well,
Mama blank.
Mama blank.
Oh, you got it.
Mamma mia.
Well
there you
done,
go again.
well done,
Exactly.
well done.
Yeah. 34
The
times.
ABBA song. Right.
Embarrassing that I went for O Patra Mia or Cara Mia before Mamma Mia. So.
Yes. You're going for old European culture before new European culture. Emma Stone's role in La La Land had a little spike.
Oh.
Her character was named Mia. And Mia, the rapper of Paper Planes and Bad Girls, only 5 times, but she percolates up. All of which goes to, I mean, it's part of what your book talks about, right? About how the idea that the crossword has to be stuff everybody knows.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
not. I mean, one of your points is that maybe it's a learning tool for old people like me to get in touch with some more alternative culture.
Yeah, I mean, Paper Planes is a great song. You know, the puzzle can act like a recommendation engine and say, if you don't know this, maybe look into it after the solve. But there are these older answers like, O Cara Mia or Cara Mia and Patra Mia, which are gettable if you know some basic Romance language, structure. And I do like clues like that, where even if I'm unaware of or even alienated by the cultural reference, I have a fighting chance because I have some information. I can kind of jeopardy my way into the answer,
Which is part of the fun,
Mhm.
right?
Well, excellent.
Well done, guys.
Well
Good
done,
work.
you. Thank you. That was super fun.
Yeah.
And we are here with Natan Last, author of the new book, Across the Universe, the Past, Present, and Future of the Crossword Puzzle. And we're going to dive into that right after this. Hello, Puzzlers. Welcome back to the Hello Puzzlers podcast. We are here with the author of the terrific new book, Across the Universe, about the past, present, and future of the crossword puzzle. And we are going to discuss all of those, past, present, and future, right now. I thought maybe, Natan, we could start with a little history, a little chronology. Tell us about the very first crossword puzzle.
Sure. Yeah. So in 1913, Arthur Wynne, this Liverpudlian who was in charge of the New York World's fun supplements, FUN, all in capitals. It had one-liners, it had comics, it had little games that would entertain you on the weekend. He had a Christmas time deadline and some empty column inches to fill and came up with a word cross. Due to new printing technology, you could put that grid right on the page and get the solvers to basically undertake the first mobile game. And so he wrote under the title Word Cross, fill in the squares with the definitions that agree with them. The first puzzle has this fun buttoned up style. So there's 2 clues where the clue is just a bird. And the answer for one is,
So
dove.
fun. Yeah.
No arguments here. And there's a clue what we all should be, and the answer is moral. Right. So the early
that's
is very
uplifting.
very 1910s kind of buttoned up, erudite styling. 2 weeks later, the typesetting this was a real arduous task. In fact, one of the people who inked the puzzle, hand inked it before it was then copied, was Ernie Bushmiller, who went on to draw the cartoon Nancy, and credits his early career as a crossword inker as a real merit when it came to trying to come up with 3-panel comics. But the typesetters kind of spun that word cross around its axis around the axis of its hyphen by accident. And so the crossword was born, and Wynne stuck with it.
A happy accident. I did that first one in the book that Greg and I put out, The Puzzler. And it was not the height of the art form. It had the fiber of the Gamuti palm was one of the clues, which is a 3-letter word. DOH, so very obscure. We all know it should have been Homer's catchphrase because I think that was on in 1913. And I did like they had one meta moment, which was what this puzzle is, 4 letters. What this puzzle is, starting with H. Greg? Hard.
Oh,
it was hard.
Hard, of course. If the Gamuti palm is in there, of course it's hard.
Okay, so moving on from that first one, and then there was a craze especially in I think I remember the 20s. It just became huge. It became a fad. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so the puzzle becomes a sensation overnight. Arthur Wynne, in this kind of Web 2.0 way, solicits, he kind of crowdsources puzzles. He asks these solvers to send him in their puzzles that they've made that he will then print for free, right? A great way to source. For free?
So he doesn't pay $250 like the New York Times still does? Well, how much is it now for the New York Times?
If you've had a certain number of puzzles published, the full rate is $750.
Wow, it's gone up.
I'm not certain what the newbie rate is, but there is still that tiered structure. But yeah, so at the beginning, they're paid nothing. And the puzzle continues to be added to all of these mostly New York City daily newspapers. It's expanding out then to the San Francisco Chronicle, all of these other newspapers, the Boston Globe add them. And then in 1924, Max Schuster and Richard Simon start Simon & Schuster in 1924, but they don't have an idea yet for what their first book should be. And then I think it's actually Simon's aunt, says, there isn't a crossword book out there. I was looking for one for my niece. And their idea is to create in 1924 the first anthology of crossword puzzle books, which is a huge sensation. They were worried that they were going to be sort of typed as unserious games guys, right? And so they ended up not using in the first run Simon & Schuster as the imprint, but created this dummy imprint called Plaza Publishing, based off of the telephone exchange where their office was. And so they were like, it wasn't us. But then the Crossword Puzzle Book of 24 ends up taking, the top 3 slots of the bestseller list, and they're like, it was us. We did.
It was us. Yeah. Oh, that was us. Definitely.
Immediate sensation. This is the Jazz Age, the era of the flapper. You have these funny ditties that have to do with crosswords. Frank Crummett has a song, Crossword Mama, You Puzzle Me, but Papa's going to figure you out, right? It's intertwined with the way that the flapper is kind of emerging from, Victorian ideas of what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man. There's this great Broadway review or off-Broadway review called Puzzles of 1925. Elsie Janis, who, sung to soldiers in the war, has this crossword puzzle sanatorium. It's like an insane asylum where the entire architecture is black and white tiles, and everyone's there because they've got bit by crossword-itis, right?
Dangerous.
And a lot of newspapers and sort of gatekeepers of the intellectual world look down on the puzzle. They think it's a waste of time. So in 1925, the New York Times writes an op-ed called a familiar form of madness. You know, they're saying last year it was mahjong. What it'll be next year? This year it's crosswords. They're wasting their intellectual power. They could be reading books. They don't really learn the words. They just understand the structure of the words. You know, this is beneath us. And tons of people similarly follow suit and kind of denigrate the crossword as this frivolous activity.
Well, I love that. When I wrote my brief history, it's just a chapter, I did a search for crossword in the New York Times because at the time, the New York Times was not printing it. As you say, they looked down on it, and it was hilarious. It was like a moral panic. It was like reading about crack cocaine in the 80s, parents neglecting kids, athletes or Olympic athletes are not training. There was a murder, a husband murdered his wife, and so this was terrible. But then comes 1942, I believe, and the New York Times reverses. So what happened there?
Yeah. So the Times, you know, maintains this stance, as you're saying, looking down its nose at the puzzle. They have this mantra, you know, strictly a newspaper, right? Without puzzles, without comics. And in 1941, you know, after Pearl Harbor, Margaret Farrar, who'd been one of the editors of that crossword puzzle book and was Wynne's assistant at the New York World, writes to the Times saying, you know, there's going to be bleak blackout hours. People are going to be stuck at home worrying over the war. A crossword would take people's minds off of it. And the Times agrees. And yeah, as you say, that first New York Times puzzle runs in 1942 and is meant to be a distraction from the war. But one of the really interesting things that you uncover when you look at the archives is that it can't help but talk about the war in this kind of, you know, shoulder shake, chest beating way. So, you know, you'll see clues like marine junkyard for Nazi subs. And the answer is the Atlantic Ocean.
All right. Yeah, America.
Yeah.
I like that, actually. I got no problem with that.
No problem with putting all the Nazi subs at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the you know, quotidian, like, facts of the war just seep into the puzzle, kind of whether Farrar likes it or not. The puzzle just can't help but talk about what's going on.
If you look at crosswords on the broad scale over decades, they've moved from being purely trivia to trivia plus wordplay. So can you talk a little about that and give some examples of your favorite wordplay? Because Greg has not had a chance to read the book, so I want to see how he does.
Oh, I see. Turning the tables now. I'm ready.
Yeah, let him solve these. And I can pretend that I didn't read the book and give the right answer.
Definitely. So, I mean, even in the nomenclature, you know, when the puzzle is born in 1913 and for a few decades after that, they're not called clues, they're called definitions, which have that encyclopedic one-to-one sense of, you know, here's a word and here's a synonym, or here's what that word means. It's not until Eugene Maleska takes over that the puzzle gets a little bit more playful and starts to incorporate wordplay in the clues. Sometimes that's, you know, alliteration, like feed 40 feasters for a fee is a clue for cater.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Sorry. Or one of my favorites is a 3-letter word, and the clue is morsel a horse'll eat.
A morsel of horse.
Nice little rhyming clue for ort, I assume.
Oat,
O-R-T,
yeah,
or
exactly.
oat, or ort. Yeah.
And eventually we get this question mark style where clues can be very punny. And mostly this is from Will Shortz and the kind of games magazine innovation, right? Will Shortz is there with a bunch of other editors in the 80s. That magazine and that style involve a lot more wordplay. They look similar to the British style, the cryptic crossword style, that are much more riddle-based. And so, you know, you get clues like, well, you might know Will Shortz's favorite clue of all time, which opens the book, is it turns into a different story. And it's 15 letters long.
Spiral staircase.
Exactly. Which literally turns into another story of a building.
Very nice.
And yeah, it's a beautiful clue. And that kind of style of, you know, Friday and Saturday deception has just flowered, especially since Will took over. One of my favorite clues in the book is my friend Brooke Husich's clue, second derivative function. question mark.
I don't even remember that one from your book. So, but I
Second-
also don't. How many letters?
It's 15 letters long.
Second derivative function. Well, I'm guessing function could mean party,
Yep.
but I don't know what second derivative party.
It's
Like,
New Year's Eve party or something like that. It's time related, second in the sense of time as opposed
oh,
to
nice.
second in order.
It's not in that case, it's not a derivative is the next pun. Second just means
Derivative.
Okay, derivative.
Like a sequel to a movie, a premiere.
Right.
Really?
Right. Kind of. It's after party.
After,
that's so
party.
good. It
Very
is second,
nice.
but after the
I like
after
that.
party.
I like it.
Which I think is really good. Yeah.
What about here? I have a couple more that I took from your book. And by the way, we should also try to give credit to the people who wrote these because they are little works of poetry.
Well, and that's also an innovation that comes later in the once Will takes over, the idea of actually putting a byline on the puzzle.
Yeah.
So
It's
people
a novel thing, exactly. Crediting constructor. In the New York World era, you had no idea who wrote the puzzle.
And they sent it in for free and they got no credit. That is not a good deal. Well, I like this one by June Pak, which is faux pas, spelled F-A-U-X space P-A-S. That's one pronunciation.
Yes.
Is
it a 11-letter word?
Well, it could be. I think this is the abbreviated version. It looks to be 6 letters. It's 2 words. But
I was thinking stepfathers as a sort of fake father. I mean, that's a judgmental if you go too deep into it. But
right. No, you got the pause part. It is, yes. Yeah. Pa. It's not pa. It's P-A-S for pause.
Or is it a French word for father?
No. You got the fathers. The fathers is dads. Then you just need the faux part. What is a fake dad?
It's not stepdads.
No, it's not stepdads. It's more like fictional faux for like sitcom dad or
TV dads.
TV dads.
Exactly. Got it.
I
got it. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's fun. But you have an interesting section on the most crosswordy word because it's not just you can have a common word like the, which has 3 letters, but then what is a word that's highly uncommon in regular English, but very common in, maybe I didn't explain that very well. So Natan, take over. Help me out.
Yeah, you've got it. I mean, the interesting thing, just to take a step back, American style crosswords, they have those big swatches of white. And because of English's phonotactics, what the structure is under the hood, 80% of words begin with consonants. There are a lot of consonant blends, especially at the beginning. And so you're liable to have in the top row of a crossword a word like stack or block, right? Which is just, 4/5 consonants. And because of that, you need the release valve of an aioli or an Oreo underneath, which is itself mostly vowels and whose consonants can blend with those other ones. And so, as AJ is saying, across all of the different puzzles and the times in particular where we have data, the word area, A-R-E-A, which is a really common word, is super, super common in crosswords. But it's also common in real life. There are words that are really, really common in the crossword that don't at all appear in this analysis that I cite, in the Google Books corpus, that just aren't anywhere in real books. Right? They're everywhere in crosswords, nowhere in real life. And those are words like Smee, the, Peter Pan captain.
S-M-E-E. Yeah, I did not know that until I started doing crosswords.
Yeah,
right.
He's become famous because of the crossword.
Yeah, we gave him a star turn. Or Ursa, right? Which you just don't see anywhere except blank major, blank minor, and a crossword clue. These are words. A C is another one. A-S.
Oh, they do love that one. Yeah, that is fun.
Super common. Very nice.
It was very popular in Herman Melville's book. A lot of people go a C in Melville, but after that.
Right, exactly. Once Melville took over the editing of the New York Times crossword, it was all Umu. It was all Umu.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. Isn't that O-O-M-O?
It's
O-M-O-O or something.
O-M-O-O is
that's
one
appeared
of
in
Melville's
crosswords.
books. A great one. Yeah, so interesting. All right, well, let's wrap up with the future. And how is AI helping and hurting crosswords? And is there a few, like, are they going to replace all of us?
Hopefully not. I mean, one of the interesting things about writing crosswords, it's got these three really radically dissimilar tasks, right? You're coming up with a theme, which is like planning a scavenger hunt, noticing correspondences among words. You're filling the grid, which is and always has been a very arithmetical process, right? Placing the black squares has to do with the phonotactics, the mathematical structure of where consonants like to go, where vowels tend to appear. And then the last part, writing clues, has always felt like writing. So that conversation is very similar to the current creative pushback against AI. But what's interesting, and I talk about this in the book, that first part and that second part, coming up with a theme and filling the grid, those have always been amenable to computer assistance. And we already have pretty good tools that don't just help, but they help a human constructor, a maker of puzzles, interface with the computer in a way that I think makes the puzzles better. So I talk in the book about a constructor who noticed that the phrase sore loser repeats every single letter except for the L. There's 2 S's, 2 O's, 2 R's, 2 E's, only 1 L. It's incredibly hard to search the human mind and dig up other examples. Right? A 2-line Python script will get you there if you're a programmer or a hobbyist. And so maybe will an LLM prompt. They've gotten much better at things like that. But it takes a human touch to, as in that puzzle, find phrases like Hippocratic Oath, which repeats every single letter except for the R. And then as an added flourish, starting with that L of sore loser, have the extra letters in order spell out leftovers. Right? A computer's never
very nice.
That kind of.
And who was that? Let's give credit to the constructor.
The one I'm thinking of is Patrick Berry, and Joel Faliano and Eric Agard have both done variations on that same theme. It's a great idea. So that's the thing, is that we already have these tools, and the first part of the book details the way that those tools developed in concert with taste. Right? There's a word list. Everyone has a dictionary file with hundreds of thousands of words, and then usually hand rankings, or at least tweaked rankings, of how good that particular constructor thinks that word is, how excited they would be to put it in a puzzle. So there's still all of this human touch. And then I think the sort of important but sometimes flippant thing to say is this is, as always, a labor issue, much more than a technology issue. So what would be bad is if an outfit that did, helped you embed puzzles in your outlet started an AI feature that was trained on puzzles that, we made. And there was no credit nor any money coming to the constructors. That's the kind of thing we want to avoid. And that's the kind of thing that only, constructors getting together and advocating for that is going to achieve. Personally, I feel like even if it does eventually, if LLMs get to a place where they can do and produce human-style puzzles, I'm still going to love it. I'm still going to love making puns. I'm still going to love coming up with never-before-seen themes. And so as long as the kind of labor aspect is taken care of, I don't see anyone backing down from this, this pleasure anytime soon.
What do you think, Greg? You're one of the best puzzle makers in America, if not the world.
No, I think Natan's nailed it. I mean, I use tools all the time to help make the puzzle. And I think you hit on the important thing, right? The ranking of the words in one's word list becomes very important because that deals with aesthetics and taste and, this word is fun. For whatever reason, you think that word is fun or it tickles you because of what it references. That feels like a very human thing, and it's what gives a puzzle personality, which is what we also look for. And everyone who solves the puzzle regularly sees a byline that they know and says, "Oh, I love what she does. I love that person's puzzles. I'm excited because of that." I think that's the key
I love
about humanity right there.
I love when I went to the crossword puzzle tournament where I placed in the bottom 10th%. But I love when they hand it out and people see the byline these people are so familiar with the byline. Like, I guess this was a very hard constructor, so everyone said, "Oh,
Oh, right, exactly.
oh no, we're in trouble."
And the constructor loves that. They,
Yeah, they love it.
They love getting that.
Who
feedback.
are the notoriously difficult constructors? To
Puzzle 5, which is the real humdinger in the American crossword puzzle tournament. I think Brendan Emmett Quigley
oh yes,
has a couple of times been, he's been the person who's gassed your hopes of a clean 7 puzzles,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to finish all the tournament puzzles.
Mike Schenk has
without
written a
mistake.
couple puzzle 5s
Mhm.
that have been really nasty too. But he's also beloved because he writes wonderful puzzles. So you kind of get
Yeah.
a mix of responses. Stan Newman gets booed regularly and eats it
Right.
up. Just because he's
You kind of I think all the Puzzle 5 constructors historically either have a real Mr. Rogers vibe or like a real punk rock vibe. And so it's easy to
or
decide
both
where
at
you
once.
stand.
and wait, what is the puzzle 5? The 5 most famous.
That's just the 5th in the 7 puzzles you solve in the tournament. And
Oh,
it's the hardest one. So it's just
Yeah.
really the one where maybe you've solved all the puzzles quickly, but more to the point, you haven't made a mistake and you finished them all. And that's the one that sometimes even very capable solvers, they don't get the really innovative or out of the box theme. And so they don't finish or they make mistakes and
I
they
see.
shake their fist. Yeah.
All right, fascinating.
Yeah, I will say when I have done well at the tournament, it's not because I'm fast, because I've never been one of the fastest, but it's because I've figured out puzzle 5 faster than other people have. And that becomes in a way, I love puzzle 5 because it's my one hope of doing well if I can get it quickly.
Yeah.
But well, before we go, I feel like, I mean, we are the puzzle podcast, so we got to talk about puzzles. But Natan, would you say a few words about what else you do in the rest of your life, dealing with asylum seekers and refugees? Just to underline that, and people can go to your website to read more about you, obviously. But you want to talk about that briefly?
Sure. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I mean, I've spent my career working in humanitarian immigration on both sides. I used to work at IRC, the International Rescue Committee, which was focused on, aid in war-torn countries and also refugee resettlement. In the first Trump administration, we had to turn our focus to thinking about doing refugee resettlement in a way that was scrappier and leaned on different funding mechanisms. I worked for a legal aid nonprofit called the Asylum Seeker Advocacy Project. For those of you interested in the way that these civil rights organizations are pushing back against some of the worst excesses, especially as it has to do with immigration, they're a great organization, and I loved working there. And for a while, I was advising the federal government on refugee and asylum seeker policy. Obviously, we're in a moment right now where that policy has all but been torn up. So, I'm thinking about ways that we can kind of throw sand in the gears. But this has been, in many ways, my life's work in addition to puzzles. And so, I encourage people to, reach out to me if it's something you're interested in and to keep fighting.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
important work out there.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Natan, for that. And thank you for your book, which is called, again, Across the Universe. And is it published by Simon & Schuster?
Yeah, it's a Random House book. But Simon & Schuster basically directly picked Bennett Cerf to start Random House, more or less, as I talk about in the book. So puzzles are the origin story for some of the biggest houses of letters in America.
There you go.
So where can people find more of your work?
Yeah, so I have a website, natanlast.com, and I'm on all the social media platforms, Natan Last, at Natan Last. And yeah, shoot me an email, follow me on the things, and hope to see you at a crossword tournament.
Love it. All right. Now,
Yes.
Greg, get the wooden spoon and plug our own stuff.
Okay. Our own stuff. Well, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hellopuzzlers, where we have a growing community of puzzle people, all of whom will be reading your book any minute now. And where else, AJ?
That's it. Come listen
Okay,
to the
good.
podcast. There's a YouTube. We're on YouTube, so come watch so you can see our surprised and delighted facial expressions. Well, thank you again, Natan. I highly recommend the book to all puzzle-loving people or even puzzle-skeptical people. And we'll see you here next time for more puzzling puzzles that will puzzle you puzzlingly.